The meeting of the Committee on Accountability, Finance, and Personnel of the Board of School Directors will please come to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Director Carr has informed us she will be joining the meeting a little bit late. Director O'Halloran has asked to be excused. Director Peterson.
Present.
Director Taylor.
In attendance.
And Chair Herndon.
Present.
We also have Director Leonard joining the committee tonight.
Thank you. I will now ask the secretary to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Members, please mute your devices.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will now have an announcement regarding interpretation for the Spanish-speaking members of our audience.
Buenas tardes. Esta junta escolar se transmitirá en español para aquellas personas que lo necesiten. Para escuchar esta junta escolar en español, por favor marque el número 312-626-6799. Repito, marque el 312-626-6799 y ponga el número de identificación o código para esta junta, que es 608-130-5362. Repito, el número de identificación o código es 608-130-5362. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move to our items of business. As stated in the public notice, individuals who wish to speak were required to register in advance. I ask those waiting to speak to please remain on the platform until you're called upon. Although we are on a virtual platform, we will still follow Robert's Rule of Order, which dictates that all comments should be directed to the chair. Also, any questions or requests, including those from board members or the administration, are to be directed toward the chair, who will determine the most efficient way to address them. As always, written testimony will be accepted for transmittal to the board. Written comments may be submitted to the board via the Office of Board Governance, P.O. Box 2181, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53201-2181, or fax to 414-475-8071, or email it to governance@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Finally, for our listening audience, if you wish to access this evening's agenda items and attachments online, you may do so by visiting Meetings, Agendas and Minutes page on the MPS website and choosing Online Agendas. Now let's begin, Madam Secretary. Item 1.
Item number 1 is action on monthly personnel matters, action on classified personnel transactions, actions on certificated appointments, actions on the leaves of absence, and the report of certificated resignations and classified retirements, and the affirmative action report on hire data and the report on resignation data. The administration recommends that the board approve the promotions and appointments and leaves as listed in the attachments to this item to be effective upon approval by the board.
Thank you. Will the administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, Keith Posley, Superintendent of Schools. We're asking for your approval for the monthly personnel and reporting items before you. Last month, it was requested by the committee that we provide hiring and resignation data along with our regular monthly report for June. The information is also included. Adria Matalini is here with me this evening, and we're prepared to answer any questions that you may have in regards to this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Peterson.
Thank you. I was just interested in getting the administration's read on a couple of different things. One is in certificate Attachment 2, we see that we've hired 6 new certified appointment people. But then in resignations number 4, I don't know if there's a total, but there's quite a few resignations and retirements. And my question, as usual, is how does this compare to the past? And it seems to me that we have a continuing issue, obviously, with balancing our resignations, retirements, leave, et cetera, with new hires. So if we could just talk about that a little, I'd appreciate the administration's perspective.
Administration.
Chair Herndon, Director Peterson, members of the committee, Adrian Maddaleni, Chief Human Resources Officer. You are correct. In attachment 2, you'll see there's maybe like 5 or 6 certificated appointments that are reported. Please note that is not uncommon, because we do, when it comes to April and May at the end of the school year, we don't tend to hire a lot of people at the end of the school year. So I just want to make that clear, so you don't get the false impression that there isn't hiring going on for next school year. We are processing people, but hiring that's going to happen for the start of next school year will probably not show up in this report probably until July or August, where you'll start seeing those names pop up as their hire dates begin to start. So I think we are continuing to move closer in filling our vacancies. But compared to last year, the report that was provided this month last year, we had roughly about 110 resignations and retirements reported. And I believe for this month, we're looking at closer to like 139. So there is, an increase when it comes to the resignations. But I would like to point you to attachment 6 with the charts, so that you guys can kind of see some of the trends here. If you look, the last chart that we have, the FY18 to FY22 all staff terms, I think that's an important chart that you can kind of get a sense of what the trends have been. Similar to other districts, the last 2 fiscal years with COVID, we've seen reduced numbers of resignations and retirements just because of the economic conditions that happened at the beginning of the pandemic. I know it seems like a long time ago, but it was only a couple of years ago when the pandemic first started. The economy was in flux. People didn't know. People were getting laid off because, everything was shut down. So a lot of people didn't move. There weren't the opportunities to move elsewhere. People were just happy they had a job and weren't losing work, so they stayed in place. But now, pretty much the economy has done a 180 this school year. Now the economy has turned around, where people are hiring, private sector, public sector, everyone's looking to hire. And so now there's more opportunities out there and people are going to move. So you're going to see some of our numbers that look closer to our pre-pandemic level. So if you look at FY18 and FY19, you can see we had resignations and retirements, a little over 1,600. And right now we're showing we're about 1,450. That's probably might creep up a little bit since this report was pulled like a couple of weeks ago and some resignations are still coming in. But I would say we'll be on par or better than what we've done in FY18 and FY19 in terms of resignations and retirement.
Thank you. Director Peterson, any follow-up?
Yeah, I appreciate the items, the attachments 6 and 7. Could you just run through them? Some of it was a little confusing to me. I understand that would you just be willing to go through this item 6 and then item 7 and just explain what it stands for? I mean, maybe it's clear to everybody else, but when it says all staff hires, that means anybody in the entire district, I assume, out of like there were 10,000 people, et cetera.
Chair Herndon, Director Peterson, members of the committee, Agent Madeline, Chief Human Resources Officer. Yeah, I'm happy to walk through each chart briefly. So if you look, starting with attachment 6, this is information on our hire data, because I think it's important to share with the board to know how much hiring we actually do in this district, and how we are definitely, doing everything we can to fill. It's nonstop, 12 months a year, we're looking to fill. So the first hire chart that we have there is entitled FY18 to FY22 all staff hires. So yes, this is data showing all employees, certificated, classified, any employees. It's covering how many people Human Resources has processed and hired during that fiscal year. And you can see through FY 18, 19, and 20, there was, a steady increase in hiring. And then you could see there was a drop in FY 21. And then now we're bumping up our hiring again, going up to 1049 at the moment. I think the FY 21 number is a little misleading because we're in the middle of the pandemic and we were virtual. We weren't doing as much hiring with some of our school-based positions that would have to work on site because of the situations. We're just trying to ensure that our current staff had work to do. So we saw a lower number of hiring that year, but we have bumped up our hiring this year and are still continuing to hire, especially when it comes to our classified and our non-school-based positions at the moment. If you look at the second chart, we just pulled out the data for teachers because we know how important, and people are curious to know how many teachers we've hired. So here's the chart showing from FY18 to FY22, how many teachers we've hired in each fiscal year. So you can see FY18, 19, and 20, you see a steady increase in hires, and then it dropped down. We still did pretty good. I mean, in FY21, we hired more than we did in FY18 pre-pandemic. And then at FY22, we have 331, so it's slightly lower. So that's just summarized there. So you can see kind of the trends, and it's consistent with the chart above. And then now I'll move to the charts for attachment 7. This is the termination or resignation data that the board, I think, is interested in knowing about. We have the all staff, the first chart is the all staff total terms by month for FY22. By terminations, we mean resignations and retirement. So just to be clear, that's just in our system how we phrase it. It's not in people that were terminated for misconduct or anything like that. There's people that have left and their termination, has been terminated for resignations or retirement. I thought it was important here so you can kind of see by month, like the cycles and what are busy months when it comes to termination. And as you can see, August, which is the start of the school year, historically has always been the highest month, one of the highest months when it comes to terminations, just because people may have accepted a job and then at the start of the school year, they have found a job in another district and then they resign. With us. That happens quite frequently, I would say, especially over the past few years, as some of our suburban counterparts are experiencing some of the hurt we have when it comes to resignations and vacancies when it comes to teaching positions. So we see a lot of that. And then sometimes you have people that may have started, in particular in August, they might have started with the early start calendars, which begin, at the start of August, that they may work for us for a few weeks and then they may resign and go elsewhere. So that tends to be, a busy month, and you can see a little bit of a lull. September, October peaks a little bit for some reason. That can be a couple months in, it can be a stressful part of the year, but it's pretty consistent. But you can see here on this chart that it kind of goes in waves a little bit. And so obviously you kind of see a bookend the most part. Beginning of the year, you see a high number of terms, and then May at the end of the year, we see a high number of terms. I will point out that the June term, it just has 43. That's like effective date of termination. So when this report pulled, I mean, there'll be a higher number now because people have resigned and the traditional year has ended. So that will increase a little bit. When you look at the second chart, the teacher total terms by month, FY22, just calling out again the teachers and kind of just separating them so you can kind of see the trends that are pretty similar as the chart above. So I thought that was good information for the board to know. And then on the last chart, which I referenced earlier, the FY18 to FY22 all staff terms is really giving, a sense, going back all the way to FY18, what termination trends we have seen, how many people have left the district since FY18. And you can see they were higher in the 1600s for FY18-19, then it's dipped down the next 2 years, and then we've creeped up a little bit. As I mentioned, the economy has turned around a bit, more competitive market now than previously, especially for our non-certificated positions. When you're talking about our paraprofessionals, you're talking about our secretaries, you're talking about building service helpers. There's a lot more opportunity out there. Private sector companies offering signing bonuses, they'll increase their pay, whatever it may be, to be competitive. We have a little bit more constraints to work under, but I know that's something we'll hopefully address with the compensation study that I've mentioned before that we are looking to move forward with. When it comes to the FY18-19 termination numbers there, you can see it's an inverse, when you can see we had higher numbers of resignations there. You also see when you look at the hiring that we've hired more because of the number of resignations. If you can recall back in FY18-19, we had the early retirement window that was in place. So we did see a higher number of retirements at that point just because of that window before the board made it permanent in I believe in June of 2020, I think, when you made it permanent. So yeah, that's a summary of the charts. And if you got any questions, I'm happy to answer.
I want to thank you. I know that the board is very concerned about hiring in all staff positions, and this is clearly a sobering report, but not necessarily one that is unusual in terms of what you've described. So I appreciate the information. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Are there any more committee members that wish to speak upon this item? Okay, I see no hands. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item, and Director Leonard has his hand raised.
Thank you, Director Leonard.
Just a question I probably have asked many times already, but is there any possibility that we can put together some kind of survey on why they're leaving, some kind of exit survey? We've talked about this before. I'm not sure if there's something in the works or not, but it would be good to get a little bit more detailed narratives from people that are leaving, that are willing to tell us why they are leaving our district. I'm not so much concerned about those that are retiring after they've put in 18, 20, 30 years. That's sort of understandable, but I'm looking more at those numbers of people that are retiring before they even get into year 4.
Administration.
Chair Herndon, Director Leonard, member of the committee, Adrian Madeline, Chief Human Resources Officer. Absolutely, we are in the process of working and building an electronic survey that would go out, an exit survey that would be more in depth than we currently have. A paper resignation form, and we attach some questions as an exit survey, and we get some basic answers, and we try to encapsulate them in the buckets where you see in the reasons on the attachments that list all the resignations, but it's not very detailed. So we understand that. So we're looking at creating a new electronic survey that will get more in depth, get more information, that we could easily collect that data and put together in some type of report so you can see. Right now it's all manual. Last month, I believe, we brought forward the contract with Qualtrics in order to develop that survey. So we're very excited that hopefully in the next month or so, next couple months, we'll start getting that going, and that we can then provide that data and have more insight as to the resignations.
Okay, is there any follow-up?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? I need a motion. Director Peterson.
I move acceptance of the administration's report.
Thank you. Will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Peterson's motion to move approval of the administration's recommendation relative to the monthly personnel matters. Director Peterson,
Aye.
Director Taylor,
Aye.
and Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 2, action on recommended administrative appointments, promotions, reassignments, and reclassification, salary increases and decreases, and the limited term employment contract exceeding 60 days. The administration recommends that the board, 1, authorize the individuals to be promoted, reassigned, or reclassified to receive the salary increases or decreases, and be appointed to the classifications indicated in the attachment to this item to be effective as indicated. And 2, approve the LTE contract exceeding 60 days pursuant to Administrative Policy 6.23, Parent 4, Parent B, to be effective as indicated in the item.
Thank you. Will the administration please present this item?
Yes, Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we're requesting your approval of this item as is outlined this month's administrative appointments, promotions, reclassifications, salary adjustments, and LTE contracts. Agent Madalini is here with me this evening, and we're prepared to answer any questions that you may have in regards to this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions on this item? Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Director Peterson.
Move approval of the administration's recommendations.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? I see no hands up. Will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Peterson's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the administrative appointments, promotions, reassignments, and reclassifications, the salary increases and decreases, and the limited term employment contract. On the motion as read, Director Peterson,
Aye.
Director Taylor,
Aye.
and Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 3, action on approval of the 2022-23 salary schedules. The recommendation is that the board approve the 22-23 salary schedules as submitted in the attachments to this item.
Will the administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we're requesting the approval of the 2022-23 salary schedules as attached. I have Adria Madalini to provide some additional information. Adria?
Thank you, Chair Herndon and members of the committee, Adria Madalini, Chief Human Resources Officer. Just wanted to point out that there was an updated, revised version of the salary schedule on the teacher salary schedule. There was a clerical error when it came to one of the schedules, the 1D. So we made that correction, and so I just want to make sure you're made aware of that.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions on this item? Okay, I see no hands raised. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the board with respect to this item?
I'll move approval, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Director Taylor. Is there further discussion? If not, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Taylor's motion, which moves approval of the administration's recommendation for the 22-23 salary schedules as outlined in the amended attachment to this item. Is that the motion?
Director Taylor?
Yes.
So noted. On the motion as read into the record, Director Peterson,
Aye.
Director Taylor,
Aye.
and Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 4, action on a request for approval of job descriptions related to the Director 1 position for restorative practices, Supervisor 1 position for systems administration, and Director 1 position for state and federal programs. The recommendation is that the board approve the attached job descriptions as outlined in the attachments to this item.
Okay, will administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we're requesting your approval of the job descriptions before you for the positions of Director 1 for restorative practices, Supervisor 1 for system administration, and Director 1 for state and federal programs. Adrian Madeline is here with me this evening, and between the two of us, we can answer any questions that you may have in regards to this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Peterson.
Yes, thank you. I have a question about, let me find it. Excuse me. The Director 1 state and federal programs. Somebody asked, and I thought it was a good question, so I'm repeating it. Why would a person who is going to do what is described in the job description absolutely need a DPI license? Wouldn't there be other people skilled in these matters that wouldn't require a license? I'm not sure. I'm just asking that question. Thank you.
Thank you. Administration.
Chair Herndon, Director Peterson, members of the committee, Adrian Madeline, Chief Human Resources Officer. Because the director position over state and federal programs, we believe it's important that they have some knowledge and understanding when it comes to the workings of a school, and having that experience and that understanding and that educational background will help, I think, when it comes to directing the work and understanding the work. And so that was our idea when it came to making that a requirement, because we really want someone that has a holistic, understanding of how the district operates, not only on the financial level and the operations side, but also on the educational side as well. I can turn it over. I don't know if Chief Kreitzman has any other words to add.
Chair Herndon, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. The position will be over our grant development area and also over any of our federal formula funding, and then would be in charge of all those applications. So they really need to have a balance between the financial and the programmatic. They will have people working under them that will have the financial knowledge. So knowing that programmatic piece is very important. And so it takes kind of a special skill between both the educational side and the financial side.
Thank you. Any follow-up?
I just want to say that makes sense. I appreciate the explanation. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more comments or questions? Madam Secretary, do we have any public comments on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony, but Mr. Chasen did raise his hand to speak on this item.
Mr. Chasen.
Thank you, Chair Herndon, Matt Chasen, Office of Accountability and Efficiency. The two director positions that are listed both come in at a grade of 14A, but the salary range for the positions are different. My presumption is that both will be in a line after the adoption of the salary schedules here. But just to make sure that no one feels like one position is getting a better deal than the other, can the administration just comment on that?
Administration?
Chair Herndon, members of the committee, Mr. Chason, Adrian Matalini, Chief Human Resources Officer. Yes, they're both listed as 14As, and the salary will be the same. And part of it could be of the timing of the year, the 7/1/22, they might have some slightly different numbers based on that. But yes, they will be the same range, 14As, based on what the committee is recommending to the board to approve on the salary schedule that was brought forward earlier tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any more comments? Madam Secretary, do we have public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Madam Secretary, please call the roll. I'm sorry, there, Director Peterson.
I move approval of the administration's job description.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Peterson's motion to approve the job descriptions relative to item number 4 is listed in the attachment to this item. Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
And Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 5, which is action on a request to approve the limited implementation of emergency paid sick leave for MPS employees through June 30th, 2023. The recommendation is that the board approve continued implementation of the emergency sick leave through June 2023 in alignment with the limited provision of the emergency sick leave policy as detailed in the attachment to this item.
Thank you. Will administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we are requesting approval of the 2022-23 emergency paid sick leave for MPS employees as presented in this item. This evening, I will have Adrian Matalini to do an overview of this information, and following her overview, we'll be more than happy to entertain any questions that you may have. Adrian?
Thank you, Chair Herndon, members of the committee, Adrian Matalini, Chief Human Resources Officer. If you recall, the current policy when it comes to emergency paid sick leave, employees that test positive and are subject to isolation can get up to 10 work days of emergency paid sick leave, which means it will be leave that is not deducted from their sick leave balance or their vacation balance. Also, employees that are unvaccinated, if they are required to isolate due to them being a close contact related to a staff or student who's positive in one of our buildings, they also will have the ability to take the 10 days of emergency paid sick leave based on the isolation and quarantine that we're going to require. What we're going to be doing this year, what we're proposing based on CDC guidance, communications with the health department when it comes to staff, that we will reduce the emergency paid sick leave to 5 work days if you're positive, if you have a positive case, or if you are identified as a close contact and you're unvaccinated and we're exposed based on a student or staff person in one of our buildings. We have reduced it based on the recommendations and guidance from the CDC saying that you can return to work after 5 days as long as you're masked, and that you can properly isolate when you're eating lunch or eating food. We believe that our staff are able to do such a thing. We already know they're already masked, they're required to mask, but they can isolate themselves when they have lunch. So we feel like all the requirements that the CDC have put in place for allowing individuals to come back to work after 5 days are in place. And so that's why we are proceeding to move forward with the reduction to 5 days. Also want to point out that We do have a provision in here that allows for in case of a situation where an employee tests positive twice. I mean, we know that it's possible and that it has occurred where someone has tested positive for COVID more than once in a year. That if they test positive again for a second time, we will offer them an additional 5 days to cover that situation. But so essentially, you'd get 5 days for the first positive and then 5 days for a second if that does happen. And with that, I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Do committee members wish to ask, make comments or ask questions?
I'll move approval, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Director Taylor. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Okay, we already have the motion. And if there's no further discussion, will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Taylor's motion to move approval of the administration's recommendation relative to approval for the limited implementation of emergency paid sick leave for MPS employees through June 30th, 2023. On the motion as read, Director Peterson,
Aye.
Director Taylor,
Aye.
and Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes. The motion passes.
Okay, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 6, which is action on a request to enter into a contract with Lead Generation Project. The administration is asking for a waiver of Administrative Policy 3.09 for this contract on the basis that the services are considered one of a kind. And 2, the recommendation is that the board authorize the request to waive the policy and to enter into contract as set forth in the attachments to this item.
Thank you. Will administration please present this item?
Yes, Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we're requesting approval to enter into a contract with Lead Generations Project to work with high school juniors and seniors on enhancing their post-secondary education levels. To provide an overview of this item, I have Dr. Kreitzman with me, as well as Dr. Nixon from Lead Generation Projects. Following the overview, we'll be prepared to answer any questions that you may have. Dr. Cotton.
Thank you, Dr. Posley. Good evening, Chair Herndon and members of the committee. Catrice Cotton, Chief School Administration Officer. This evening, we are requesting to enter into a contract with the Lead Generation Project. The Lead Generation Project is a summer programming opportunity for 43 of our junior and senior students from 7 Milwaukee area high schools: Bradley Tech, James Madison Academic Campus, Milwaukee High School of the Arts, Golda Meir, Rufus King, Riverside, and Ronald Reagan. Students will participate in courses aimed at boosting their scores for college entrance through ACT preparation classes. Financial literacy courses will assist students in understanding the power of how money works and includes information designed to help students make wise decisions and choices with their money. Students will also receive exposure to healthcare career opportunities they can explore post-12th grade from leading professionals in the healthcare profession. This pilot is done in partnership with MKE Fellows, Cardinal Stritch University, Wells Fargo, Climb, Advocate Aurora Health, and Key Labs Accelerated Learning Centers. Friday excursions to various locations throughout the city of Milwaukee will be provided under the direction of Milwaukee Area Technical College and bring real-world experiences to the classroom setting. Students who participate in the Lead Generation Project will be compensated for their participation through the Milwaukee's Earn and Learn program of Employ Milwaukee. The program will run 5 days a week from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on the campus of Cardinal Stritch University. We are excited about the possibilities this project can provide to our students during the summer. And with that, I'm prepared to answer any questions. And we also have Dr. Clarence Nixon from T Labs Accelerated Learning Centers on the line with us as well.
And also Attorney John Daniels is on the line as well.
Yes,
Okay, thank you so much. Committee members, we would we like to hear from the other speakers before you ask questions? Just raise your hand and let me know if it's okay with you. Okay, thank you. With that, let's go to the other speakers. Director Cotton, if you'd introduce them, please.
Sure. I'd like to begin with Dr. Claire Nixon, who is with us tonight from T Labs Accelerated Learning Center. Dr. Nixon.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Dr. Clarence Nixon. I am the founder of T-Lab. We are an accelerated learning center for students in grades pre-K through undergraduate. We have been collaborating with the MKE Fellows on this initiative, and we're looking at a very rigorous opportunity to develop the skill sets of the students, and that would include academic skills, English, math, reading, writing, and science, as well technology skills, and as was said, there will be effort in developing their financial acumen with respect to financial literacy.
Thank you so much. Next speaker, please. Director Cotton.
Thank you so much, Chair Herndon, members of the committee. We also have with us this evening Attorney John Daniels. And Mr. Daniels, if you would please share some information in regards to the project.
Oh, well, thank you, directors. Thank you, superintendent. Thank you, Dr. Scott. My name is John Daniels. I am a proud product of Milwaukee Public School System and practicing attorney in this community for many years, and have had the opportunity to work with MPS on a number of projects where we have been able to work with you in a very, very positive way. We're extremely excited about the lead generation effort. I happen to start my day this morning by going out and meeting some of the MPS students from a variety of your schools who are extremely excited about this prospect. And we are so pleased that Milwaukee is going to get the terrific benefit of being involved in this for the youngsters in our community. And certainly we thank MPS for their support and participation.
Thank both of you so much. Committee members, Director Taylor, and then I'll go to Director Peterson.
Thank you, Chair Herndon. Just have a couple of questions, but first I'll say a comment. I'm really glad to see this come about. I'm always looking and on the lookout for other resources and opportunities for our young people that will keep them in positive environments, as well as upholding an educational platform. So my questions are, how was the schools picked? Also, what was the criteria or the requirements for how we also selected the students? And if there were students from other schools within MPS who were interested, what is the possibility of them being able to also participate in this program?
Thank you very much. Either of our guest speakers or administration, could you please answer that?
Chair Herndon.
So I could start if you want me to. Dr. Cotton would know more of the details, but they identified the schools where they thought that this would be very, very effective. And then some kids from other schools indicated an interest who were in MPS schools. And just to give you some background, Director Taylor, there were almost 2.5 times number of kids who wanted to participate as was the path. So there was a huge appetite, and I think you'll see that the youngsters who are involved in the program are involved in a number of different schools. So we are very pleased about it.
Thank you. Is there follow-up, Director Taylor?
Yes, I understood we said it was 2 times the amount. I guess I still didn't hear how the schools were picked, and if we're saying the number of students that we have or babies that we have signed up now, was that the cap number?
Okay, Dr. Cotton.
Yeah, Director Herndon and Chair Herndon and Director Taylor, yes, we put this information out to our schools, and as Attorney Daniel said, we did put it out to schools where we thought that we would get a lot of traction from, with interest. I've also invited some of our leaders to participate in an informational session in regards to this project. And then the leaders worked with their school communities in order to find the students that would be most interested in this project. So that we had a number of meetings together, and then we also brought the school leaders in so that they could hear about the program, get their students excited about it, with the possibilities of it this summer. And so we're very pleased at the number of students that we have that will be participating this summer as well.
Okay, with that, I'll go to Director Peterson and Director Taylor. If need be, we'll come back to you again. Thank you. Director Peterson?
Yeah, first, the simple question, how many weeks is this for? And then I want to come back to Director Taylor's question. But first, how many weeks?
Director Cotton, Dr. Cotton. Sorry.
Chair Herndon, Director Peterson, members of the committee, this program is running, as Attorney Daniel said, it starts today and then it runs through August 2nd, but we're also going to continue past that. Once the kids come back into the school year, we'll be running it through the end of the school year. So we have a date on the contract of December 31st. As you know, that'll probably be running into winter break, but it will run officially through August 2nd. We'll graduate those students out that are participating in this program, and then we'll pick back up once the school year starts with the early start calendar.
Thank you. Director Peterson, any follow-up?
Yeah. In terms of, so over 200 students were interested, and I think Director Taylor's question wasn't quite answered in terms of, did the school leaders decide on who is? Did the kids have to write show some sort of indication other than just raising their hand or whatever? I don't mean to simplify things, but I know it sounds like a great program, and I imagine in the future we might want to try to, if it's successful, expand it for the following years. So that's the question I have in terms of the selection of the student.
Okay, Dr. Cotton.
Chair Herndon, members of the committee, one of the things that we knew that this is a program where we were going to have a large number of individuals that wanted to be a part of this. We started out with a larger number, and we had to work with the number that we have. We knew that it would be looking at it from a pilot standpoint. So therefore, Dr. Cotton assembled a number of principals together, let it be known who is interested in being a part of this program. And she found individuals that was takers as far as principals to say that we have a number of students that we want to be a part of it. And she worked with that particular group of leaders that provided names to be a part of the program. Our goal is that this program, which we know that it would be, with the intense support that is set aside for this program is successful, we will have larger numbers of students that will be able and eligible to participate. So our goal was every junior and senior in this district was eligible, but we were not able to take every single student. We knew that for starters. So basically what we're trying to do now is to look at what we will do going forward after we see the results of the program this summer.
Okay, thank you very much. Director Peterson, does that answer your questions?
Yes, it does. There's one follow-up. I know it says it's organized by the MKE Fellows. If somebody could explain to our listening audience who that is. And lastly, where is it being held? And do students have access to transportation to that site?
Okay, I'll turn it all over to administration.
Chair Herndon and Director Peterson, members of the committee, I'll start with a couple of them. I will let Attorney Daniels answer the question in regards to MKE Fellows. But it is held on the campus of Cardinal Stritch University, and Milwaukee Public Schools is providing the transportation for our students to get to that location through bus tickets. That they will have transportation supplied to them for each day that they participate in the program. Attorney Daniels, I would not do it justice if you would please, sir, provide information in regards to MKE Fellows.
So MKE Fellows is a project that was started 10 years ago with Milwaukee Public Schools, where initially 10 youngsters were selected to go to Morehouse College. All 10 of those youngsters have now become college graduates. There are about 200 MKE Fellows in any school year. About 85% of those are from Milwaukee Public Schools. And those students get an opportunity to get summer internships at various jobs. There are mentors in various areas of what they have an interest in, and they meet regularly to get professional development. And since the program has started, we've had, knock on wood, an incredible 85% rate of college graduates from students in the MK Fellows, and about 65 of them are in town this summer in Milwaukee at various places where they're interning.
Thank you so much. This sounds like such a wonderful, worthwhile endeavor by our partners as well as our administration. And I appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone does, and our children certainly are going to appreciate that. The history with Milwaukee Fellows is incredible, and I want to thank them if they're listening or watching. So let's watch this new class of young people that go through this. Thank you. Are there any more comments? If not, Director Taylor.
Yep, the last one. Thank you, Madam Chair. And by far, this is a great program. Just kind of asking the questions because I always think about our babies. So I know we don't have room for it now, but I'm hoping in the future that we can extend this to our babies that are at Obama, which is one of the schools in the 3rd South Division in Milwaukee School of Languages. Also, I guess the other question is, and I'm glad that we're doing it, but why is it coming to the board now if we have already picked the students in this program? Is already existing. I guess, what is the role of the board? Are we just approving it? I guess I'm just trying to understand the process of this.
Thank you. Administration, please.
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, one of the things that we have been doing, the team has been working with Lead Generations MKE Fellows throughout to try to get to a good place, because we have to look at various avenues. There was a number of different things that needed to be worked out and resolved. Our goal was to try to get to the board in June. However, we did not get to a final stage until, get to the board in May. We did not get to a final stage until this month. And so it was just out of the cycle. And the purpose of this is the dollar amount that is set aside is what we are asking for as far as contract with Lead Generation.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval of the item. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Okay, we already have that motion. So if there's no further discussion, will the Secretary please call the roll?
On Director Taylor's motion to move approval of the administration's recommendation relative to the request to enter into the contract with Lead Generations and to waive administrative policy 3.09 as indicated in the attachment. Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
And Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 7, which is action on the recommended plan of audits and the report on district risk assessment plan. The recommendation is that the board approve the FY23 annual plan of audits and the district risk assessment as attached.
Thank you. Will the Board of Governance please present this item?
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you so much for this opportunity. Before you is the annual plan of audits and including the risk assessment tool that helps to guide our work that is before you in the attachments to this item. During the presentation of the audit plan, what you'll see is that more time is being dedicated to performance audits. So looking at programs that the district values and understanding the risk associated with things that we're seeing from our cyclic audit and making sure that those things that are higher risk come to the top of the platform when it comes to time being dedicated to our audit, as well as a focus on our performance of programs that the district has moved forward, such as looking, in the past, we've looked at the Montessori program, we're looking at the bilingual program and other programs this year.
Thank you.
And also, I'm sorry, we do have Mr. Paul Guy on with us, and we can answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much. Committee members, do you wish to ask questions at this time? Okay, I don't see any hands. I would ask Director Peterson, would you please take the gavel?
I will.
So noted.
Dr. Herndon, could you please talk to us?
Thank you very much. I had brought up most of my questions during the pre-meeting, but for the audience purpose, I thought my mic was off. I'm sorry. I wanted to bring up one of the things that I pointed out in our pre-meeting, which was inventory. And the reason why I say that is because as I look over the audits that come through every year for the various schools, you'll notice a commonality in certain things. And one of those things was inventory management. It could be laptops, Chromebooks, musical instruments, or whatever. My expectation is that these deficiencies would be corrected. And the one thing for sure is with the musical instruments, the district, thanks to our taxpayers in Milwaukee, have made a major commitment over the last several years, which we've invested in a lot into, both in terms of instruments, in terms of staffing, and that holds true for all of our arts programs, be it visual arts, etc. So I'd like to make sure that those things are put into the cycle so that it's reported on annually. I recommended also that since the music department reports in March and in August, twice a year, that it would be a good idea to report to the board the inventory of those programs, such that you have an idea or better idea of what the financial investment is and where the funding is going, and the fact that our staffs, both in central office and in our schools, are being good stewards of these funds by managing the inventory. So I think this is great for this to be expanded, and I would certainly hope that my request would be honored. Thank you. With that, I'll take the gavel back.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Sure.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
We will definitely work with the administration so that when those program reports come forward, and I know that there's a separate music report and, relative to FIED and the arts, when those programs come forward, we will work with the administration to ensure that there's a component around inventory so that not just the board is aware, but the public also gets, as Director Herndon said, a glimpse into purchasing of equipment and what is actually there.
Thank you. Director Herndon, do you have any follow-up on that?
No, I don't. Thank you.
I will return the gavel to you. There
Thank you.
go.
Thank you so much.
So noted.
Madam Secretary, do we have public comments on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Okay, if I'm not mistaken, we don't have a motion. So what is the pleasure of the committee? Director Peterson.
I move approval of the Board of Governance timeline and proposals for the audit.
Okay, thank you. If there's not further discussion, will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Peterson's motion to approve the recommendation of the Office of Board Governance relative to the recommended plan of audit and the report on the district risk assessment plan. On the motion as read into the record, Director Peterson?
Aye.
Director Taylor?
Aye.
And Chair Herndon?
Aye.
That's 3 ayes. The motion passes.
Okay, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 8, action on monthly facilities matters, the FMS awards of construction contract, the professional services contract, the material purchase recommendation, and the report with possible action regarding the air quality report. The recommendation is that the board approve the attached construction contract, the professional services contract, the material purchase, and the acceptance of the air quality report.
Thank you. Will the administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we are asking for your approval of the monthly facilities matters as it relates to contracts and materials purchase recommendations and the acceptance of the quarterly air quality report. John Kane is with me this evening to provide an overview. Following the overview of the item, we'd be more than happy to entertain any questions that you may have in regards to this item. John.
Thank you, Dr. Posley. Good evening, Chair Herndon, members of the committee. Sean Kane, Senior Director of Facilities and Maintenance Services. There are no questions with the items on the recommendation letter. I will now proceed with the air quality updates. As mentioned in the previous report, the FMS is continually working with 4 integrated project delivery contractors, IPD teams for short, that are approved in July. Our FMS team has been working with their contracted owners representative Concord Group, and I asked them to provide me a summary of activities for the 6 months in 2022. After IPD contractors identified project goals and critical objectives during the later part of 2021, scopes related to air quality were defined after reviewing school information, site investigations, and checking the DFMS deferred maintenance list. Contracts were issued based on IPD estimates within their school assignments. The IPD teams, the owner's representative, and MTS has been meeting weekly to discuss budget, schedule, and address any outstanding scope concern. The IPD teams have been working on the design and construction documents to solicit formal and competitive bids from their subcontractors conforming to the requirements in Board Policy 3.09. We're expecting bids within the next couple months. By September, we hope to have project budgets solidified to see if the contingency we allocated needs to address cost overruns with the unpredictable market, or additional deferred maintenance projects could move forward. Concurrently, DFMS has been proactive and identified asbestos abatement scope that impact mechanical and flooring projects that will address air quality. The team had to be creative due to the aggressive schedule and ESSER deadlines, so abatement scopes were formed earlier this year. In addition, DFMS and the owner's representative have been working with IPD teams to identify long lead items such as water bottle stations, flooring product, mechanical units in preparation to purchase these materials to expedite construction schedule. Efforts to get testing and balancing done on mechanical projects is well underway at schools since school session finished up earlier or recently. Once reports are generated, we can address any potential deficiencies on the mechanical system to improve air quality in the building. Lastly, DFMS is purchasing devices that monitor and measure both particle matter and gases to be randomly deployed in buildings across the district. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much for that thorough report. Do committee members wish to ask questions at the present time? I don't see any hands. Director Peterson.
It appears that your
muted.
microphone is muted.
I would like to move acceptance of the facilities matters report and everything else that was listed.
Okay, Madam Secretary, do we have any public comments on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Okay, we have the motion. Is there further discussion by committee? If not, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Peterson's motion to approve the recommendation of the administration relative to the monthly facilities matters and to accept the air quality report. On the motion as read into the record, Director Peterson,
Aye.
Director Taylor,
Aye.
and Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes. The motion passes.
Okay, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 9, which is action on monthly finance matters, authorization to make purchases, the report on change orders in excess of $25,000, the acceptance of the report on revenues and expenses, the monthly expenditure control report, the report on school funds transfers, the report on contracts under $50,000 and their cumulative totals, the report on monthly grant award, and the acceptance of donations. The recommendation is that the board, 1, authorize the purchases, and 2, accept the donations as listed in the attachments to this item with appropriate acknowledgments to be made on behalf of the board.
Will administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, this evening we're asking your approval of the monthly finance matters before you. It should be noted this item includes purchases for reading, writing, and science software and materials, and various annual licensure renewals for enterprise systems. Martha Kreitzman is here with me, and between the two of us, we can answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions on this item? Okay, I see no hands raised with that. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comments on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
All right, what is the pleasure of the committee? Director Peterson.
I move acceptance of the administration's report.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Peterson's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the monthly finance matters. Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
And Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 10, action on the award of professional services contracts. The recommendation is that the board authorize the professional services contracts as set forth in the attachments to this item.
Okay. Thank you. Will the administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, this evening we're asking your approval of the professional service contract before you. Before I turn it over to Janina Domchek, I would like to highlight we have 6 contracts that focused on providing tutoring services for our in-person, one-on-one and small group tutoring for reading grades K through 3 and mathematics from grades 9 through 12, and virtual one-on-one tutoring for all subjects grades K through 12. At this time, I will turn it over to Mr. Domchek, and after which, together we will be able to answer any questions that you may have. Janine.
Chair Herndon, members of the committee, Janina Domchek, Director of Procurement and Risk Management. This evening, we're bringing forward professional service contracts for speech language pathology services for Brigance, early childhood universal screener, and instructional services, as well as the tutoring services, which Dr. Posley already discussed, as well as language interpretation and video interpreting services. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer those.
Thank you. Committee members, Director Peterson.
I'm sorry. I move approval of the administration's recommendation.
Okay, Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item? We have the motion and I see no hands raised for public comment. Will the secretary please call the roll?
I'm sorry, I was muted. We have no request for public testimony on this item. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. It's a hot evening, yes.
On Director Peterson's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the award of professional services contracts. Director Peterson,
Aye.
Director Taylor,
Aye.
and Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 4 ayes. The motion passes.
Okay, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 11, action on the award of professional services contracts related to transportation. The recommendation is that the board authorize the professional services contracts related to transportation as outlined in the attachment to this item.
Okay, will administration please present this item?
Mr. Herndon and members of the committee, we are asking for your approval of the professional service contract related to transportation before you. Janine Adamchat, as well as David Solifal-Farrick is with me, and between the three of us, we're prepared to answer any questions that you may have in regards to this item. Thank you.
Okay, do committee members wish to ask comments, make comments or ask questions? I'm sorry. Director Peterson, Director Leonard.
Just a sort of a quick one. When I was looking at that list of contractors, are any of those contractors one of the new ones that you spoke of, Mr. Solifal-Farrick, sometime earlier this year?
Administration.
Chair Herndon, Director Leonard, David Solik-Farrick, Director of Business and Transportation Services, Milwaukee Public Schools. Yes, in fact, Safeway is the new contractor that came in actually from Illinois. So they've come in to do approximately 70 buses worth of work for the district.
Okay.
Very good. Out of curiosity, off the top of your head, how much will that help us? I don't even know how you're going to be able to explain that, but just from what you see, how will that help us coming this school year coming up?
Administration.
Chair Herndon, Director Leonard, members of the committee, David Solik-Farrick. It's definitely not going to hurt us bringing in a new culture and a new contractor. They're very specific in the way that they approach their business model. So I believe that they're going to bring in a unique batch of drivers from the labor pool. So assuming everybody else maintains, this is going to help us tremendously.
Okay, any more follow-up? Director Leonard?
Thank you.
Okay, Director Peterson.
Yes, I have a more general question about a problem in terms of the transportation that I've heard of, which is this year in some schools, there who are third tier schools, that is the late schools, the third, in terms of the three, first, early start, second, and third, they've had late buses every day at the end of the day, sometimes 15 minutes or half hour, or even 45 minutes. I was wondering if we've done any survey, or if we could do a survey of those schools to really see how bad the problem is, and to one, look for ways to solve that problem if it truly exists, it's widespread, and then finally, just if it can't be solved, think of ways to support those schools that are forced to have staff look after their students sometimes for quite a while on a regular basis.
Administration.
Chair Herndon, Director Peterson, members of the committee, David Solik-Farrick. First and foremost, I'm very aware of the third tier challenges. Obviously, as you took a fleet that really needed an extra 100 buses and consolidated into what was existing, the last tier ends up being the one that gets the most problems. That being said, we did not survey, by the way, because we have data that shows that we were very aware of those challenges. but we did modify the bell schedule just a bit so that we could give a little bit more time specifically for the third tiers. And obviously, if we gain 70 buses in the fleets, by the end of the year, we were very close to even, given that we had timing issues. But if we gain those 70 buses back into the fleet, that does tremendous work for timing, which was really the issue by the time we got through this first half of the school year.
Okay, any follow-up, Director Peterson?
No, just thank you very much. We look forward to those 70 buses and others doing well. Thank you very much.
Okay, any more questions? I see Mr. Chasen. Would you like to speak? Go right ahead.
Thank you, Chair Herndon. Matt Chasen, Office of Accountability and Efficiency. When I take a look at the orthopedically impaired services and those for specialty programs, and I compare what's bring forward tonight under RFP 1068 for those services, the total amount over 3 years is over $40 million. And even as I adjust for an uptick in service and inflationary pressures, that seems higher than I would have guessed based on previous year's spend. Are there additional services besides orthopedically impaired and other specialty that maybe are comprised in that RFP?
Administration?
Chair Herndon, Mr. Chasen, thank you for asking that question. So, point of clarification: this RFP, where it had typically had OI and learning journey specialty programs, which included suburban, we added a small vehicle component specifically to attract a new vendor or two into the market, and that is exactly what we got out of this supplemental RFP. So that increase in dollar amount is a reflection of the additional services that we requested for this RFP.
Thank you.
Any follow-up, Mr. Chasen? Okay. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comments on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
What is the pleasure of committee with respect to this item? And I see Director Peterson's hand up.
I move that we support the award of professional services contract related to transportation and in the proposed contract and supporting document.
Okay. If there's not further discussion, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Peterson's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the award of professional services contracts related to transportation. Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
And Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 3 ayes. The motion passes.
Okay, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 12, which is the action on the award of professional services contracts with Cisco related to school nutrition. The recommendation is that the board authorize the request to extend the contract with Cisco Eastern Wisconsin, LLC for the 5th additional 1-year term as set forth in the contract attached to this item.
Okay, will administration please present this item?
Madam Chair, before the administration presents, I wanted to note for the listening audience, Director Carr has joined the platform.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we're asking for your approval of professional service contracts with Cisco related to school nutrition. That is before you. Janina Damshak and Omar Abdullah are with me this evening, and between the three of us, we can answer any questions that you may have regarding this item. Thank you.
Okay, I see Director Peterson's hand is up. So would you go ahead, Director Peterson?
Muted.
My mistake. I meant to take my hand down.
Okay, Director Taylor?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I know this is an extension for a year. I'm just thinking about, because we've heard a lot of feedback from our young people as well as some of our educators in reference to nutrition. So how does us extending this contract align, or does it put any setback for us moving forward, looking at different directions when we talk about school luncheons for our
administration?
Chair Herndon, Director Taylor, members of the committee, Umar Abdullah, Director of School Nutrition Services. This should not impact our ability to move forward with the changes that we are planning to make regarding our meals. This contract is basically the vendor is procuring the food and storing in the warehouses and transporting to our schools when we need them. And they meet with us on a weekly basis, and we are the ones who drive what they procure. So once we work on our menus and request them what they need to procure, they follow our lead. The only time they have input is like if it's supply chain issues where we might order some products and that may not be available in the market. Other than that, they follow what we request them to provide us. So as we are moving forward, it should not impact our ability to procure the food that we are looking for.
Thank you. Are there any more questions?
Yeah, Madam Chairwoman, just to follow up, and tonight I'm going to move approval of this because once again, as it was just stated, they are just basically doing the transportation of what we would like. So I guess the onus is continuously still on us on what we're serving. And so we need to continue to really look at that. I'll move approval of it, Chairwoman, but looking forward to some drastic changes in the near future.
Thank you, Director Taylor. Is there a date I'd like to ask administration? Is there a date by which we will be advised to the changes that you've been working on? Will there be a report coming through?
Chair Herndon, members of the committee, we just did our report in May. The next report is August. So we will be coming before you in August to give you an update on where we are with all of the changes that have been made.
Okay, thank you so much. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comments on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Okay, we have the motion. So will the Secretary please call the roll?
On Director Taylor's motion to approve the award of professional services contracts with Cisco related to school nutrition. Director Carr.
Aye.
Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
And Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 4 ayes. The motion passes.
Okay, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 13, which is action on the award of exception to bid request. The recommendation is that the board authorize the exception to bid request as set forth in the attachments to this item.
Okay, will administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we're asking for your approval of the exception to bid contracts. Dean Adamczyk is with me this evening. And between the two of us, we're prepared to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? I see no hands up. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comments on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
All right. What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Director Peterson.
I move approval for the awards of exception to bid contract.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Peterson's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the award of exception to bid request. Director Carr.
Aye.
Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
And Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 4 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 14, which is action on a request to waive administrative policy 3.09 parent E and enter into contract for translation and interpretation services. The administration is seeking a contract for Lingua Pros LLC and Lakeside Ventures Inc. based on the significant organizational change within media and communications department and to ensure that the prices offered by the vendor remain the same for an additional 1-year period. The recommendation is that the board authorize the administration to enter into this contract and waive the policy.
Thank you. Will the administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we are asking for your approval to enter into contracts for translation and interpretation services as provided in this item. Janina Dumchek is here with me, and between the two of us, we can answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay, do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Peterson.
And just for the listening audience and for our edification, I'd like to mention how many languages are covered in these translation interpretation contracts.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Herndon, members of the committee, Janina Damczyk, Director of Procurement and Risk Management. With respect to Lakeside Ventures Incorporated, they provide services for several of our families, and I apologize, we do not have that number listed, but I am happy to provide that information, and we will get that for you as soon as, if not this evening, first thing tomorrow.
Okay, thank you so much. Director Peterson?
That's fine. I just want to let our public know that, you know, we have a lot of different languages within our district and that we strive to make sure that they're connected and communicated with effectively. So we enter into these contracts. But I thank you very much.
Madam Chair, the administration is requesting to speak again on this item.
Thank you. Administration?
Herndon, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. In the original contract for each of the vendors, it provides the different languages that they translate. And there's about 15 languages for the Lingua Pros and 15 for Lakeside Ventures. And like I said, if somebody goes back to the original contract on the first page of each one, it lists what those languages are.
Thank you, administration. Is there follow-up from anyone on the committee, including Dr. Peterson? Okay, there doesn't seem to be anyone with additional comments. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comments on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the committee?
I'll move.
That's Director Carr. Thank you.
Taylor.
Okay.
Director Carr had her hand up, but Director Taylor.
Now, then, by all means, let Director Carr. I'll take mine back.
Hey, fault the camera. It jumped to Director Carr as she was speaking.
Then that means she should do it, Director Carr.
I move approval.
Thank you. Thank you so much. If there's no further discussion, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Carr's and Taylor's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the waiver of policy 3.09 and the contract for translation and interpretation services. On the motion as read into the record, Director Carr?
Aye.
Director Peterson?
Aye.
Director Taylor?
Aye.
And Chair Herndon?
Aye.
That's 3 ayes. The motion passes.
Okay, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Madam Chair, that was the last item on tonight's agenda.
Thank you very much, and thank you for our audience and our committee members and administration as well on this hot evening. With that, this meeting is adjourned.